Hey folks, how's it going? Today's video is kind of an impromptu show and tell review kind of thing because I just got this in the mail a few days ago and I wanted to talk about it a little bit, kind of do a review on it. It's the MSR Alpine stowaway pot. It's a 1.1 liter stainless steel pot that is kind of made for camping, backpacking, that kind of stuff. So if you have a bug out bag or whatever, that's kind of what this is geared towards. You know, if you're out hunting or whatever, want something to heat up a meal in. It's 15.5 ounces, 440 grams. I'm not going to read all this stuff to you. I mean, that's just advertising things mainly. Cool feature on it, it has this kind of hinged clasp with a handle and a removable little pot lid. You might say, well, how do you do a review on this thing if you just got it? Let me tell you. I just got a second one. I have had this one for about 10 years now, probably. I know for certain that I had it in 2011 or 12. So I definitely had it over 10 years now. I don't know exactly when. I may have had it in 2010, not really sure. But let me just show you how I like to have this pot set up, because it's a very clever design with this folding handle. Really keeps things together nicely for you. So on the top here, as you can see, kind of have a spoon that's just underneath the handle as it straps over. And this is just a cheap little stamped stainless steel spoon. I think I got it at Walmart back probably about the same time as the pot. I don't know if they sell these anymore, but just any kind of little thin, cheap spoon, perfect for that. You wouldn't want anything too thick, or it would probably deform the handle more than you'd want. And what's inside of it? All this stuff. Well, before we talk about that though, let's talk about the pot a little bit, what I like about it. For one, I've had this thing for 10 years. I've used it camping and backpacking, all that kind of stuff, and it has held up great. The handle, it's just kind of spot welded on here. Same with the hinge and all that, but it has not busted any spot welds. It still functions just as well as the day I got it. You can see that it has some stains and all. It's a little scratched up from me rummaging around it with a spoon, but I don't just use this backpacking and all. It's actually such a nice size where it's kind of low profile and wide that if I just want to make up some soup or a ramen noodle, something like that at home, I often just go to this because it's thin, it's light, it heats up fast. If I have leftovers, like if I heat up quite a bit of soup or something and want to save it for later, I just throw it in the fridge like that, and it's really convenient to come back to it later without having to dirty up some extra Tupperware. So kind of a nice piece of kitchen gear, aside from the nice aspects of backpacking with it, camping with it, whatever your goal is. Let's get to the main thing that's in here. And I keep this stuff wrapped up in these rags for a couple reasons. One of them is to keep the rattling down. So my heat source that I prefer is an alcohol stove. This is a Trangia stove out of, I think these are from Sweden. I don't know if it says. No, doesn't seem to say. Not on here anyway that I can tell. But they're a little alcohol stove, and the way they work is a little screw lid here with an O-ring. Has a fuel reservoir in there. This is about half full right now, maybe a little more than half. Has all these little burner ports kind of around the side. Of course, I have a lighter for it. You can just, it lights up like that. You snuff it out real quick before it gets hot. But if you leave that going for a little while, what it eventually does is starts kind of vaporizing the alcohol and forces it out of all these little holes around here. So you get a nice kind of jet of flame. See if that's good and cold. Yeah, cold enough. You don't want to recap these hot because it kind of gets stuck. And then you're trying to get a pot gripper or something to get off, because it really almost glues itself on there. That's a little Trangia stove. Really like it. It's pretty light. It gives you a good even flame that's clean. I've used like the ESBIT fuel tabs and stuff in the past. I've used, of course, like the compressed gaseous fuel canisters and all. But the alcohol is just such a convenient way to go that's really clean and easy. And for it, I keep a little extra bottle of just denatured alcohol. This bottle is something that I probably picked up at maybe a Kroger or a Walmart, just in their like cosmetic sections. You usually can get like these travel bottles for shampoo and stuff. Well, this one I just filled with alcohol. That's my little extra fuel, and that's plenty to last. I mean, I can cook a couple things off of a full charge in here, maybe 3, maybe a full day's use out of this if I'm gonna have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Depends on what you're doing though. I mean, if you're trying to boil a lot of water, then you might need more fuel, but I find that it's overall pretty efficient. Now, the way that I handle that is in this thing here. It's a little ESBIT tri-stand. Let me show you. So this is the disc that ESBIT sends with it that is for putting one of the ESBIT fuel tabs on. And I keep that in there because I usually have a few of the tabs in my backpack just as a kind of emergency thing, whatever. The way this works though is it kind of just hinges together in 3 pieces, like you see here. And then you can take your stove and pop it down in. And on the little night vision camping video, I actually showed this kind of in use, or had the pot on it, was cooking up some, I think it was chili mac that time. And it's stable enough, it's fine. Ooh, making a rattling noise. I don't really like the case that comes in. It's got this belt pouch deal, but it's kind of too small and starts to rip out the side after a while. But it's good enough for what it's for. You know, I usually keep 2 of these rags. Not always these same rags, just 2 rags. For one, any dirt, soot, grit, whatever that gets on the stove and associated parts. By wrapping up in this, I keep the pot a little cleaner. These are also nice, you know, if you have a water source where you can do a little scrubbing action. I like to have 2 of them because I can have one that's drying, you know, just hanging on the pack or whatever, while the other is still inside. In this case, of course, they're both just in there. And it all sits in, breaks down pretty quickly, really. Your main thing on this that takes time is waiting on the stove to cool down. That takes a little bit of effort. So it's not really a pot review, it's a whole setup review with parts from several different companies. But you get the idea. Got our ESBIT down in there. Oh, I forgot to put that in. Slip him back in real quick. Got our ESBIT tri-stand down in there. That thing is a little bit pricey. I've seen different prices around the internet. They're a little hard to find. I'm not sure what their actual name for it is, but they tend to be a little bit expensive for what they are. Your Trangia stove there. These, you can get them made by ESBIT. You can get some of the, imported. I say imported. I guess they're all of them are imported. You can get some of the cheaper ones that are imports, that are knockoffs. And, you know, an alcohol stove is a fairly simple thing. I think those work all right from what I've heard. But I prefer to go with companies that have done the R&D and have a track record of putting out a good quality product. I try to support the good guys where I can. Got my little lighter in there, just a Bic lighter. Throw some denatured alcohol in. And it all sits in there pretty nicely. And of course, any other little utensils you wanted to put in, you could probably put some salt and pepper in here, stuff like that, if you wanted to. And then I just lay that over, spoon sits under till it's about even, so I'm not hanging out the side too far, and then flip that over. And yeah, stuff shakes around there a little bit, but it's not clanking and banging too bad, especially once it kind of settles down in a pack. It's quiet enough. Not really loud. So on that note, that's 10 years old or more. How does the new one compare to it? Well, they're very similar. Very similar indeed. Of course, this one's scratched up and a little bit stained over the years. This one's a little shinier. Other than that, though, they appear to be pretty similar, about the same quality. They've always been made in Thailand, as far as I know. This particular one's called the Seagull. I don't know why it says Alpine on here and then Seagull on here, but that's how this one was too. I actually think I had a picture of it or something that I found not too long ago, and that's how I was able to make sure I got the right size again, because I was not totally sure what size that pot was. But the spot welding on the back here doesn't look as consistent as the old one. You know, these are nicely centered, and then there's two more down here, two kind of vertical and then two horizontal. These, they're kind of off to one side a little bit. I don't think that would compromise strength, really. Overall, it seems to be really about the same. Spot welding on here, again, a little bit off center, but not bad. And I don't think it affects function. You know, the lid on the top here, this isn't as substantial as the old one. The old one's thicker. This feels a little bit sharper on the edges. But I mean, you talk about really splitting hairs, that to me doesn't really matter. That's not going to bear any kind of load other than maybe you sticking the handle of your spoon under it to lift it off, so, or a stick, whatever you want to do. I think it's going to be a good pan, just like the old one was. I just wanted to have a second one because a lot of times I've been taking this one to work to heat up food at work. This one is a little gritty when it opens and closes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think, because this one occasionally it will want to flip back, like if I'm rinsing it out or something, a little bit too easily. So this may do a little better with that, although I would imagine it'll smooth in some as time goes on. But overall, I think for 10 years difference, the way quality of so many things has gone downhill, this is actually holding on pretty good. It's still a well-made product, I think, that is going to work well. They do dent a little bit easily. I mean, just in me handling this and probably in the shipping, there's a couple little dents on the bottom edge. This one has a pretty gnarly one on one side of it where I think I dropped it on a piece of gravel or something. But it doesn't really affect the function. You know, it's a light gauge of steel, so, you know, it's your trade-off there. Overall, though, I think it's a good pot if you want something for backpacking or just a nice little convenient pot for around the house. I think this will do fine. One thing I do notice, the lid on this one doesn't seem like it fits as well. It has a little bit of wobble to it. The other one actually sits in a little nicer. Now that might be just an age thing where it has kind of press fitted over the past decade or so, but that's hard to say. But once the little clasp is over it, it's nice and secure. And that actually might allow it to seal a little bit better if you're trying to keep water in it or keep food sealed up in it. So not necessarily a bad thing. That might actually be an intentional design change where that kind of press fits down in for a better seal. I'm not sure. I don't think it's bad though. I just noticed that it's different. Overall though, I think if you're looking for something like that, something to keep in the car or for backpacking, hunting, camping, bug out bag, whatever your purpose is, this is a pretty clever way to do it. Of course, you can mix and match cooking methods. You know, if you want to use a different type of stove, if you want to use ESBIT, the compressed fuel tablets, or you know, whatever, the compressed gas cylinders. There's a bunch of different options for that, and I'll but for a pot, I think it's hard to get much better. Plenty of capacity, but still compact, easy to use. You're not trying to carry some pot gripping handle thing. Just really a very nice, convenient package that doesn't add a lot of weight and bulk. So thanks for watching, folks. I know this is a little bit outside of the norm for this channel. We usually talk about gun stuff, but I'm not sponsored by anyone, and I wanted to talk about my camping pot. So that's what you got today. Sorry if you're disappointed, but hope you enjoyed it anyway. Maybe you found it useful, and we'll catch you on the next video, probably with more gun stuff. Thanks for watching, folks. See you later.